name's Owen, and I'm the Dungeon Master of our Return of the Giants 5th edition homebrew campaign.
Hi, I'm Ali. I'm playing Lyra, the Eladrin Spore Druid, and she is just a little bit obsessed with mushrooms.
Hi, my name's Simon. I'm playing the character of Ember. I'm a wildfire druid who's on a quest to be the very best there ever was.
Hi, I'm Dave, and I play Harry Harrington, the Harrengon, the roguish merchant with the heart of gold.
My name is Christian. I'm playing Bartholomew, the romantic dancing Owlin, Paladin of devotion.
Hi, my name is Matt, and I'll be playing Niles Silverwind, the Owlin, Way of the Sympathy Monk.
Hey guys, I'm Jared. I play the character of Threign, the boisterous frost giant, the Goliath, path of the giant Barbarian.
Hello there, lovely listener. This is just a warning to let you know that this episode of Return of the Giants may contain adult language or adult themes. Hello. Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the Lost Archives and to our homebrew edition, 5th edition adventure, Return of the Giants. We are excited. We are ready. That certainly wasn't a clumsy intro. We are excited and ready to be jumping in. We have one apology for tonight. Jared is unable to make it. We know Jared's going through some stuff, so hopefully he'll be rejoining us very shortly. Give him some love. Hopefully we'll see him really, really soon. We'll hope we can catch up with him shortly. That's the only apology. We've got everyone else. We're all back. It's basically a full party at this point because I can play one PC on occasion if need be. If I'm playing multiples, it's a bit tricky. So it's nice. I can just manage Threign. That's super, super easy.
And it's Barbarian, nice and simple.
Yeah, a hit thing with big stick. So we're going to be jumping in very shortly. Only have a couple of fun announcements to share behind the scenes. I am going to be recording some episodes and a playthrough of a game that's very, very close to my heart, which I can't believe I haven't done before now. It's a little RPG called Disco Elysium. And if you don't know what this is and haven't played it, you are missing out on probably one of the greatest games that has ever been created. It is a game that is very hard to describe. It isn't... What was that? Sorry, Dave?
For what?
Yes, Dave, what was that?
For what, Dave? That was me.
That was me, sorry.
Because I saw Dave move at the same time, and I was like, "Sorry, Dave."
I just gaslit you.
Sorry, Dave. Because I saw Dave move, and I was like, "Must be Dave," because his camera gives me whiplash sometimes as it tries to keep up with his face, and it doesn't do it. It's an amazing RPG where you play as a man who has lost his entire memory, and rather than skills, you have stats which talk to you. And so it's a single player experience, but your stats, like this thing called imagination, which is known as Inland Empire, and this is a personified aspect of your psyche that speaks to you and tells you things as you're exploring the world. And depending on points you put into which one, it gives you different abilities to pass checks and things like that as the game progresses. It's incredible. It's a work of art, I would say, and I'm very excited to be doing a playthrough of it. The voice acting is incredible, and I love it so much. I'm going to be doing a playthrough of that. For those of you who've been enjoying the Synergy playthrough, which is that really cool colony survival city builder game set on an alien world, don't worry, there's more episodes of that coming. I've recorded a whole bunch of those ready to go. I'll just edit them down and chuck them up as we go forwards. I just didn't want to spam them all at once because I've done quite longer format episodes, about an hour and a half long, and I want to make sure that they're not just like coming out bam, 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 bam. So I've spaced them out a little bit to give a bit of time in between. But I'm also really enjoying playing that, which is really well timed because there's a new show coming out on Netflix. It was on HBO, but it's just been moved to Netflix called Scavenger's Reign, which is this really interesting sci-fi animated series that looks very similar in art style to Synergy. So I do recommend checking out Scavenger's Reign. I don't think it's available on Netflix in Australia yet, but it should be coming across shortly. So I'm very excited for that. In terms of D&D fun news and announcement, we've got some pretty exciting news from Christian and Matt, who've been doing a bit of work behind the scenes to flesh out parts of the Heiress Theocracy, which is going to be really exciting. So I think in honor of that, we'll start our recap and get into why they had to flesh out some of the Heiress Theocracy. Unless anyone else has any fun news to share, otherwise we'll jump into the recap. No? Cool. Easy. Brilliant. Let me pull open the notes from last session and we will jump straight back in. So, the Tempest Adventuring Guild, a name now legendary across the lands of Nostea, has formed a brand new team. Lyra, Niles, Harry, Ember, Threign, and newcomer Bartholomew are exploring the vast caverns of the Underdark. Drawn below by rumours of stone giants taking over territory, it has come to light that the Duergar are providing the stone giants with slaves as part of a massive mining operation. After running afoul of some drow assassins following their decision to help Zaylin, a renegade Lothsworn drow, the team found themselves separated and their companion Harry taken prisoner by these Shadow Blades. With the knowledge the drow were headed for a campsite near the Society of Brilliance tower, the team began the journey, stopping only briefly to escort their gnome guides to Blindenstone, learning that a massive draconic monstrosity called a Behir had taken up residence, the city-state now completely abandoned. Arriving at the meetup point, the team were met with the sight of Harry unleashing eldritch magic to free himself, magic he previously had not displayed, but this also alerted the drow assassins to their presence. Fighting for their lives, the now reunited group faced off against the assassins and emerged battered but victorious. With one drow left alive as prisoner, a male drow called Zerum, the team took a brief opportunity to rest, Harry having sustained a pretty brutal injury during the fight. Knowing that Harry was nowhere near the right shape to face off against the Behir in Blindenstone, the team decided to make a stopover at the Brilliant Tower, the base of operations for the Society of Brilliance in the Underdark. Playing it safe, initially only Niles and Bart approached, passing through the front gates and entering a large garden full of Underdark flora. Welcomed to the tower by a voice speaking directly into their minds, the duo were met by Mindflayer Albus, Bugbear Historian Tetarch, and Changeling Botanist Sylvie. Harry accompanied Sylvie to an upper floor for some healing, while Ember stayed outside with Zerum to investigate the garden. With Ember's keen eyes, he soon found what he had been searching for, a Susa tree growing in the outer sections of the garden. Knowing its powerful ability to nullify magic, Ember took a small cutting, tucking it away for later. Inside, Lyra and Niles spent some time with Tetarch, showing him the fragments of the mural they had taken from the Kuatoa cavern. During this conversation, they learned a little more about the current situation in the Underdark and how the stone giants are currently operating in the lower caverns. Meanwhile, Bart decided to have another go at chatting with the Mind Flayer Albus, hoping to find some information in his library and learn a bit more about the Illithids. While Bart did get some insights into the Mind Flayer history, he learned of a much more horrifying secret: the true mission and the true history of the Aarakocra and Owlin and their arrival in Nostea, as well as their troubled past in the elemental plane of air. Upstairs, Sylvie had begun attempting to heal Harry, feeding him a concoction of herbs and mushrooms, which ended up triggering his heartstone, causing it to pulse with power. As Niles and Bart headed upstairs to check on Harry, they discovered a rather disturbing sight. Part of Harry's hand had now been replaced with metal, which looked to have grown outward from the heartstone. Slightly concerned with this new development, Niles and Bart questioned Harry about his new powers and his odd heartstone. Harry, despite initially giving away very little, finally opened up and shared some of what he had experienced and the existence of the mind within the gemstone and the source of his new powers, Figment. Sylvie took this chance to ghost out of the room, heading down to hang out and bond with Ember over the more dangerous plants in her garden, gifting him some samples of deadly poisons. We left off last session though, as Bart shared his rather worrying findings about the history of the Eris theocracy with Niles. And that is where we left off last session, as Bart and Niles stand in Albus's study. Ember, Harry, and Lyra, the three of you are currently downstairs with Tetarch and Sylvie. Ember, you've just come back in after collecting some of the interesting samples from Sylvie. And Harry, you had been examining your new hand and sort of getting to understand the changes that have occurred as a result of it. Lyra, you had spent a little bit of time with Tetarch. Now, you weren't with us last session, were you? So, what we might do in that case, it might be worth having a little bit of a conversation, jumping back in time just a touch. And I know I have just really teased everyone with that Eris theocracy stuff. I'm now going to be an absolute dick, and I'm just going to pull the hook back a bit, and we're going to jump back in time just a little bit to have Lyra interacting with Tetarch, because you were examining some pretty important and interesting artifacts with Tetarch. You'd been going over the fragments of the mural that you had recovered from the Kuatoa cavern. So I think we should jump back in there if you'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. As you begin pulling out the fragments of this mural and going over them, Niles at this point kind of turns to you and goes, I might just go check upstairs. Bart and Harry have been a little bit. And with that, vanishes upstairs to check them. Because I think that is exactly what you said, was like, I might just go see what the others are up to.
That's literally word for word, pretty much exactly what I said. So
Perfect. I'm really happy.
And
Excellent.
the mural rubbings, they're still up in Bart's bag, was it?
No, Bart took them out and dropped them on the table before he disappeared.
Oh, sweet.
Even if he didn't, he now did. It's canon. That's what happened. Only because I now need to explain why we didn't discuss you coming up to us for them previously. So let's say he did. I do have a memory of you like mentioning the rubbings, Bart, at the time. So I'd say that you would have just pulled them out and slammed them down on the table. As Tetarch turns to you, looking over, and goes, these are fascinating. Definitely pre-ruin. These go back quite a way. Where did you say you got these? The Kuatoa Caverns.
The Kuatoa camp. Yeah, cave sort of right at the very back of the camp. Yeah.
Near where poor Davian was investigating.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I wonder if he knew about the existence of these things. It might explain some of his zeal in tracking down and keeping an eye on this cavern.
That, and I mean, there's not a lot else other than the myconids. There's not a lot sort of really else of too much note that we could see in that area. So
the myconid.
See why else
myconid colony's still there. I thought that would have gone extinct a while ago. They seem to be in the process of failing. The colony were breaking apart.
Any reason in particular? I mean, they were definitely lower in numbers when we saw them, but it seemed like they were sort of in the process of recovery by the time we left.
Well, it's an interesting one. See, most colonies only have a single sovereign, only one to rule over the rest of the myconids, but this one has a number. They had 4.
3.
Oh.
Ooh.
Well, one did leave with a bunch of the soldiers. There was I guess you could call it like a military coup, is how I would describe it.
Far out. They that hasn't come up previously. I'm not just completely blanking that out.
You've never heard of
mind.
that before. No, you've never the sovereigns definitely made no mention of this. They just said their numbers had dwindled.
Only 3 of them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you get the sense that maybe they didn't share that information, possibly for a reason.
Yeah, well, it's well, hopefully they're going to be all right now. But no, they're still there. But back to the Kuatoa camp. Sorry, just with these this mural.
Of course, stay focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, I tend to get way too distracted sometimes.
Me too. It's one of the dangers of being a historian.
True. At least it always leads you to an interesting place. But with this mural, you don't think it's not some sort of prophetic, not hinting at possible future where we all get eaten by Hadar, is it? Like, or I mean,
prophecy's not really my thing as a historian. I would say that the ability to see the future is, in my experience, limited. Many societies like to show features of how the future could look, how it should look, and things there such as that, but I've yet to see long-term prophecy actually come true. I mean, there's a reason why divination wizards talk in such fucking riddles, right? It's hard to see the future. Look, this is not really my area of expertise. Sorry.
Well, I guess the other reason I brought up the future is just how else would that be there? I mean, we know that the Kuatoas probably didn't paint it. I mean,
is this depicting future events, or is this depicting past events? I mean, the sight of the red sun, Hadar, I'm assuming by the iconography, maybe this was a past event.
Based on the other people there, it's very possible, but again, that just leads us to who else has been down in this cave that could have painted this that was been around so long ago?
Well, it looks giant to me, if I had to make a guess. Giant or elvish, early elvish. The proto-elves who came through. If I had to make a guess, I'd say, given the size, proto-elf. Giants, I mean, it's in the name, isn't it?
Sort of shrugs awkwardly.
I was also going to say, did the giants paint?
I mean, the mural was it was a relief. It was carved. You guys have coloured it in, but
yeah.
Tetzak goes,
I mean, the giants used pigments, not the stone giants. Tends to be rather like tactile to feel. Like even their language is tactile. The weird gravings and carvings that you feel with your fingers to read. It's very tactile. But I'm not sure. Giants again. Not my specialty. I'm interested in all history, but my real area of focus is the lost years. I mean, the beginning of time, just before the ruin. Those decades and years that are just gone from the records. Nothing left. I find that fascinating. How can there be missing years in our history books? What was that knowledge?
Years exactly are you missing? I mean, I was around for a little bit around that time.
He does a full double take as you say this, which is just sort of shakes his head and looks at you. His large fangs, which kind of get in the way of his speech, which I am seeing chatter identifying as rather Sean Connorish. Does it sound a bit like Sean Connery? I can't hear it back. Does it?
It does. I've always thought that.
Does
it?
What do I need to?
One ping only.
Is that a Sean Connery statement? Someone's typed that.
You need to say Bond, James Bond, and then we'll
Name's Bond.
James Bond. I hear it now. I do hear it now. Yeah, I hear it now.
Yeah, pushing galore.
There you go. That's how you know it's Sean Connery. How did they get away with the early Bond stuff? It is Sean Connorish. I feel like this is a language now. This is Connorish as the dialect. Lesser Connorish and greater Connorish. Tetzak does a full. That's a absolute derail. If we were playing Avatar right now, I would have just lost the derail points that we normally do. As Tetzak sort of shakes his head and looks, he does a double take, goes, cleans out one of his very furry, tufted ears.
I'm sorry. It sounded like you said that you were pre-ruin.
Yes. Yeah, it's a long story, but the short of it is I got stuck in a gem for, the entirety of the ruin until, 6 months ago, something like that?
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry you didn't have to live through the ruin. I take it that was rather shit. But, I'm sorry that happened. That seems strange. How it's trapped inside a rune, you say? No, a gemstone, you say?
A gem. Suspended too, 1 minute I was studying wirens and
I was going to say you look fabulous for over 1,000 years old.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, actually, no, technically this body is also only about, 9-ish months old or something. The other half of that long story, but...
Elves, weird lifespans. Elves. How is it you grow up so fast, but then age so slowly? How does that make sense?
That is the question. I don't think I have an answer for you.
Well, you're saying that's not true. Elves grow up very slowly. But the thing is, right, he's misunderstood when you said that you're only a few months old. He's like, oh, okay.
Why would this stranger lie to me?
Fully Benjamin Butling. Yeah. No. One time, back in time.
I have possibly close to 1 million questions about the time pre-ruin. I don't know if you're going to have the time to answer them all.
Possibly not. No, I think we're going to go off and fight a Behir, I think, after Harry is not quite so half dead anymore, maybe?
I will limit myself to three questions that scholars have been puzzling over for some time. The Betrayer Gods. We don't really know where they came from. Do you know where they came from?
So this is where I'm going to have to ask DM questions.
This is where I'm going to get you to roll me a history or arcana check, your choice. We're going to see how much Lyra knows, because...
no.
Thank you, Obscenities, for spending your points to gift me advantage. It's always nice when... what did we get? 6. I'm going to say that happened after you were sealed. You don't... The Betrayer Gods, the Ruin, all of that was a mystery to you.
Yep. No, I mean, the first I've heard of them was after I woke up again, after, all was said and done. I mean, so at least it's somewhat of a timeline. I mean, I disappeared at a point Does she know actually the year that she...
No, because the problem is, right, the years that you know, they no longer apply. The calendars now are pre-ruin and after ruin. All the years are recorded pre and after. So, like, even the calendar that you go to, along with your druid circle as it was, is dead and gone. You are the last surviving member of your druid circle, the last person who would use that calendar. It's one of the curses of being that old. Dragons might... They wouldn't have used the same calendar as the other because this is before. Yeah, no. So no, you're the only person left in existence at the moment that we know of who still uses that calendar. So you can say a year, but he just goes, "I've never heard of that." The 6th of Grebe. I have no idea what that is.
Because I was even thinking, I'm like, oh, maybe like if she was off studying, like maybe she had like a journal or something that she was recording her notes in. I'm like, that probably would have been dated. I'm like, but the calendar's not.
It's a completely different calendar. So. Because of the way, I mean, the gods came down and fought upon the surface of the planet. The ruin is called that for a very good reason. So much was lost. History, technology, science, and the magic warped minds and perception. I mean, the sheer amount of magic that was being thrown around to the point where you couldn't even send magical messages. Like, you had to rely on the Aarakocra and Owlin for that period of time for any communication to be trustworthy. And even then, like, it was problematic. It was bad. A lot was lost. Chat want me to say, I am the last one. I don't know why. I'm not sure what that's from, sorry. Oh, Dragonheart. Oh, I think I know what this movie is. It's a really bad movie, isn't it? Like a really good movie, but also a really bad movie. Simon's nodding. No? Yeah. Reminds me of the D&D movie with Jeremy Irons, which if no one has seen, you need to watch. It's incredible. Oh, no. Jeremy Irons realizes that it's a pile of shit and does not phone in. He gives it 2 million %. It's incredible.
I love it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
That's great.
You just Google Jeremy Irons D&D movie and you will not be disappointed. Like, his appearances are enough that you get like a good 10-minute video out of it, and it's like, yeah, it's so good.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I will watch that later.
So yeah, Lyra, that is unfortunately that's a tough one. You just sort of shake your head. He goes, nah, shame.
Well, I've got 2 competing questions for number 2, but I guess I'll do them as 2 and 3. There's a continent that went missing. People claim that it was real. There's arguments that it never existed. I just have one question. Did this landmass ever exist? I've got to quickly pull open the name really quickly because I don't have it in my head. Sorry. Bear with me 2 seconds.
Landmass isn't the floating city or anything.
No. Amil is the continent. The lost continent of Amil.
Amil. Historians cannot agree whether or not it even existed. Records say they do, records say they don't. Amil. Continent. Did it exist?
And with knowledge of history, do I have to
Lyra,
roll
you
again
know for a
it?
fact it did. That is the continent that you were on at the time when you were sealed. That is where the mountain region that you were. That's the mountain region that you were on when you were investigating the rock. Was it a rock nest? No, wyvern nest. It was a wyvern nest. Yeah, that is Amil. To be fair, that was over a year and a half ago. We discussed where you were, so I don't expect you to remember that.
Feels like even longer than that.
Yeah.
But Amil definitely existed. Funny enough, that's actually where I was when I somehow ended up in the gem. You don't reckon a whole continent could end up in a gem, right? Like,
magic's not my forte, but crazy magic was possible back then. It'd be a big old gem. How big was the gem you were in? We can mathematically calculate this.
Well, it depends if everyone was split up into individual gems or if everyone and the entire location of the city or continent is all in one gem.
Just had a horrible thought.
Lots and lots of
what if there was like 10 gems and each had like 10% of everything in it, and like when it gets summoned back, it's just 10% of a person. Oh, magic is horrifying.
Do you reckon they'd come back as just a head? Or would it be just like
random 10%? It's just a collection of dust that falls down that's like part of the skin, some kidneys. Oh no, this is horrifying to consider. I'm going to have nightmares about this, and which means Albus is going to have nightmares about this too.
Oh. I'm sorry I brought it up.
I brought this up. You asked some good questions. I made it horrifying. Well, I guess I have one final question in that case.
Yeah.
Were there 2 moons back then, or is that new? Again, the records indicate that the second moon... there's a lot of debate over whether we had 2 moons at that point, or whether it was just one.
The moon's new, isn't it?
I mean, you always saw 2 moons. I mean, the circle of the moon. Yeah, I mean, your emblem was the 2 moons as a partial eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
It's literally on your character. To be fair, again, it's been more than a year and a half since we talked about this, so it's okay. I don't expect you to remember. I'm just the massive fucking nerd.
I have great memory. The 2 moons have always been a thing as long as I can remember.
Maybe that was earlier than we already had one. Some of the artwork from the early Elvish time only shows 1 moon, so there's a confusion about whether or not there was multiple at that time, or not sure.
How early are you talking?
Well, that's the problem. It's hard to date this stuff.
So I mean, they could just be painting like a mural from like the scenery that they had back before they arrived in Ostea.
You watch as he pauses for a moment, nods and goes, Now, that was one of the hypotheses that we came up with, but we discounted because of the... one of the mountain ranges looked like it resembled a mountain range today, but I've just realized how stupid that is, because none of those mountain ranges could be around today. Everything was changed after the ruin. I might have just upended several papers back in Oxenfurt with that question.
Woohoo!
Professor Grell is not going to like this.
Oh no, don't tell him it was us. Unless he will like it, in which case do definitely tell him it was us, otherwise definitely not.
We're going to have to tell him first, so he can publish it first, but I'm going to be second author. You'll probably fit you in as 4th or 5th if you like.
I'll settle for that. That sounds wonderful.
There's no money, just so you know. In academia.
Yeah, no,
not for you, I mean in academia.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mention academia in general. There's little funding. Sorry.
No. I mean, that's probably why there's more adventurers than there are scholars.
It's a weird world we live in.
It's at this point you watch as Bart, Harry, and Niles come downstairs, Harry's hand being replaced with metal. We'll assume the conversation proceeds at that point. Ember then comes back in. Ember, Harry, and Lyra are now downstairs. Bart and Niles, the 2 of you, then head upstairs. The timelines converge. We are back in the present. Bart and Niles. We left off last week as the 2 of you were speaking to Albus, the Mind Flayer, and Bart, you had just shown Niles the image of this artist's rendition of the plane of air, a portal opening in the sky, and thousands of Owlin and Aarakocra pouring from this portal, descending on this land below. Renditions of what probably look like air elementals, these angular forms made of swirling wind, drawn in this sort of rushed, almost haphazard way, just dropping from the sky with no warning upon the land below. And Niles had, I think he'd asked like, what is this? And Albus had finished with a, yes, the invasion of the plane of air by the Owlin and Aarakocra. That was the last time the plane of air was truly free. And that is where we left off with you 2. I'm jumping straight back in.
Yeah. You at the first mention of that, Niles' plumage and feathers just like completely go like on end. You just visually see him get real ruffled, literally ruffling his feathers with this statement.
You do the same face that I had when I saw this.
Yeah.
Eyes wide, no noise, beak slightly open.
I love the idea of the beak clicking a little bit. One of the things owls do when they're a little bit stressed is the beak kind of clicks a little bit. This like wide eye, like.
We're both just sitting next to each other.
It's a funny mental image.
Yes, that I read this before. Kind of freaked out.
Well, yes, of course. This can't be true. No, this can't be true. This is. Oh my! No. Tell me this isn't true.
start flicking through.
This picture is probably an artist's interpretation. I doubt any first-hand witnesses would have been left alive to record such an event.
No.
Here, let's check something. This was the very first placement when our people arrived here as apparently tyrannical overseers. Let's go to the most recent one, and I'm going to flick to the last chapter of, I guess, because this book obviously wouldn't have had stuff from a couple of months ago. It would have had to have been written, printed out, made, probably a couple of years. It's been sitting on Albus's bookshelf for God knows how long.
This book looks ancient. I mean, years is generous. Years is conservative. I'd say at this point, you're pretty sure this book is decades old minimum.
Okay, well, if I flick to the Elemental Plane of Air's latest chapter on the Owlin and Aarakocra people on Nostea, does it have mention of the Liang clan and any of the other clans?
So this book doesn't discuss any of the Owlin and Aarakocra on Nostea. It focuses primarily on the Plane of Air. This is a history of the Plane of Air. It looks like the last event that it discusses as you flick through, you can see a couple of major events jump out at you. One of them is this. I'd say probably the pictures are really what grab your attention. Whoever this artist was, I wouldn't say it's particularly artistic in a way that is technically beautiful, but there's emotion in how they've drawn things. Even though things don't look quite to scale, and there's some sort of inaccuracies detail-wise, the emotion, the fear in some of these pictures that are being drawn, and the sense of danger and malice is incredible. One of the ones that you see as you flick through is this vortex that opens in the middle of a settlement. You see this artist rendition of this rock floating above this vast empty void, the clouds all around it, this rock splitting in half as this enormous silvery disc gleaming in and of itself with a black core opens in the very center of this settlement, and you can see Owlin and Aarakocra being pulled out of the sky into this thing, the clouds starting to spin around it as they cross the edge of the event horizon.
Metagaming black hole.
I was gonna say, that's fucking crazy. What the fuck?
As you look, I would say though, even though the accuracies of the artist's impression might not be spot on, one of the Aarakocra that you can see much more foreground, this eagle-looking Aarakocra, beak wide in this silent scream as it tries to fly away, the coat around its shoulders pulling back towards this vortex. You can see a symbol on the back. Mm-hmm. These three spiraling winds, which look a lot like the symbol of the Ares theocracy, maybe a similar or even a pre-version of it. And it's at that moment, as you look at that, you realize this event is probably depicting, from the Plane of Air perspective, the arrival of the Owlin and Aarakocra on Nostea, right? Because from the Plane of Air's perspective, suddenly this magical disaster happened over one of their settlements and broke that settlement, took everyone that was on that settlement, and they were gone, never to be seen or heard from again.
Okay.
But the most recent entry in this book, as you get to it, you can see the slaying of the Dukes of Akka. There's an artist depiction of a force of Aarakocra and Owlin slicing through what looks like almost like a living tornado. These bands of wind forming this very humanoid, almost bipedal structure, and then at its very core, this beam of light splitting through, tearing off one of the limbs as you see this elder god elemental being broken in half.
Our people are just murder hobos.
They are imperial people who have taken a land and made it their own.
I'll turn to Albus away from Niles. Albus, do you have the ability to, I guess, connect minds? If you were to read my mind and look at images and things that I'm thinking about, would I be able to also, through you as a conduit, show this to my friend? Is that something that's
I can be somewhat of a conduit. to share images and thoughts, but it will
Like a group
be
conversation in
somewhat
your mind.
unpleasant.
Okay. The main reason I mention this,
Yes.
I had a lot of time to think when I was in slavery. A lot of it was spent thinking about Satine, but every so often I did ponder about family and home, and also just overhearing how the denizens of the Underdark lived. I noticed that a lot of other races grew up in very different ways. A lot of the Duergar walking around seemed to have a stench and staunch hatred of one another and everything. The Drow,
That's a fair assumption.
Drow that worked in there were similarly the same, much more hating of everything other than their kind. Those from the surface world, however, bonded together. The Swift-Nerblin, the Deep Gnomes, had a sense of safety with one another, and they often talked about how they grew up. But I noticed no matter where, there did seem to always be a norm, a maternal and paternal protection of young, of lineage.
Of course.
Did your parents ever beat you? Is that an Aarakocra and Owlin thing?
Niles looks like visibly like a little bit disturbed by this.
The reason I asked this wasn't just me. My brothers, my sisters, all six of us.
What? No.
We saw it with all the other members of the noble class.
For context, this is like hearing the Dalai Lama has children that he regularly abuses.
All the other of the Halfwai that we saw, the other noble classes did that to their children as well in the temples, their main temples.
Well, I didn't know about that. Some of the Halfwai I was friendly with, but they never mentioned any trauma or any sort of training like that, especially when they were actually. That's no, that doesn't seem right at all. What sort of vile training did you undergo, Bart? Who did this to you?
Well, it was mainly more so for my brothers and sisters, but a lot of the important nobles that father was friends with went through similar testings. It was magical as well. They had a mage that would often come by and do sort of like doctor's appointments and checkups on me and my siblings. Kravis often trying to use magic to grow our muscles, extend our bones.
Oh, Kravis. That rings a bell.
Do you want to roll a history check, Niles? See how much you know about Kravis? Because you would have heard the name.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, nope. that's a 1.
I haven't seen that come through yet. That's okay. I trust you.
It's alright. I'm rolling it on D&D Beyond. I don't have roll 20 up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, definitely a 1 though. Yes, no.
He didn't. His work with father was very quiet. That was the only thing that happened with me. It didn't happen to other nobles that I noticed. Where, they transmutation magic. They said, sort of trying to make us perfect.
Well, none of the Silverwinds or the Yin Fang never really experienced anything like that to that extent. Mandatory training at the martial temples was an expectation, but nothing beyond that, and not something that it was all voluntary. I mean, obviously the family did it out of respect for the head lord, for the Talon, but nothing like that. Nothing like what you're describing makes sense. I mean, the family is big. There could have been some that didn't talk about it, but not in my experience.
I think I came up with a conspiracy theory when you saw me and my eyes were kind of going... Still are going crazy, I guess? I'm not sure. This is a lot to feel
Yes.
under my wings. If our people are warlike people, if our people are conquerors, then they could still be trying to complete that at the moment. It would make sense why everyone and anyone has to practice some sort of combat. The family of myself, the Liang family, trying to perfect that, I guess, making us stronger. Alphonse was always an amazing fighter and hunter. I am my older brother. Maybe that's why no one came looking for me? Because I'm like a failure.
No, not at all. Not at all, Bart. Your strength lies deeper within you than you realize. Your strength for Satine, your love for her, manifests itself in a power that is to be admired by many. It's not a sign of weakness.
But I don't know where that power comes from. It's from the stone or something, or what I'm saying is that you actually sort of help make my point. Rather than being this perfect soldier like Alphonse was, now that I look back on it, I was a romantic drunk, enjoying dances with Satine and enjoying my time with her, sneaking out of the palace. She was only a member of the crafting class at that. Father was always unhappy, and I thought it was mainly due to that, but I feel like it might not have even been her class at this point. It might have been that she was a distraction and that I wasn't.
Well, we don't really know what whatever has happened is maybe a side effect of that. Maybe it enhances your emotions or your feelings. It manifests itself. I mean, I don't know. This is a bit beyond me. It's even somewhat beyond spirituality. But this is all a bit much. The Silverwinds have always been a mercantile family. I'm surprised. I should probably talk to Harry about this, actually. I wonder if he's heard of us. Maybe the Yin Fang he's heard of. I haven't really mentioned that.
He would have heard as the Silverwinds. The Yin Fang would only be, that's the clan term that you use within the Aarakocran Society, but Harry definitely would have heard of the Silverwinds before. Harry, any merchant worth their salt knows the Silverwinds.
Well, the reason I bring this to you, and I feel like if it is a conspiracy that merits worry, the safety of Nostea may be threatened by Hadar, but it may also be threatened by us. And I think I know who might have an answer for us, and someone that I could trust asking, that I think you will have connections to. My sisters, and possibly younger brother, they were thrown out, at least the sisters were. They left the family. I never knew why at the time. They were...
I heard about that.
The official term was they were away on spiritual growth and to build their understanding of the world, and just vanished.
Yeah, I thought they were on a sabbatical.
Yeah.
They just never...
No, Melinda. Other names. Diademia left. She was fairly old at the time, in her early 20s. She took my teenage little sister Josephine, and they both left in an argument that happened with father. I was not a part of it. I was out exploring, spending time with Satine. But they went and started a merchant guild selling things. Josephine had a bit of a way with speaking to people. Was very nice in that regard. My younger brother eventually left as well, from what father told me, Renius. I'm not sure. For some reason, he didn't lose his rank, though. But they left for a reason. Maybe they know stuff. They were never trained like me, Renius, and Alphonse.
That you know of.
I feel like... Yeah, I feel like Diademia, my older sister, knows something about what was happening with my family. and in turn, maybe with our people.
They could be safe bets if we're able to make contact with them on the surface, but if what you say is true, then we can't relay this information via the messenger guild. This goes beyond that. We have to deliver this in person.
No, I understand. My thought process is that we use the Silverwinds that you remember, to just reach out to my sister under some sort of pretense.
I can certainly try. We would have to be very careful. The Silverwinds are an interesting bunch. I'm sure you've heard. There are members within the Silverwinds that we could trust, I believe, to a degree, but the Talon, definitely not. The head of the family, he is a loyal retainer of the royal family, and any talk of this would be close to treason.
No, I understand. This would be more so people closer to yourself. I'm just thinking Merchant could reach out to Merchant, and from there we could hopefully get in touch with her. The thing is, I don't know where she is. They left, and obviously they didn't come and send postcards.
Well, of the people at the Silverwinds, there is... Well, my uncle might be able to assist us, Otto. He is the public relations guy. He's pretty well liked by most of the family. He's kind of an everyman, really. Doesn't care much for the higher ups, even though he is of a noble class himself. I have a good deal of faith with him. We might be able to talk to him when we get to the surface, but getting to him might be a little hard since he's within the Eris.
As you mentioned Otto, Niles, you remember that in your family, when you were to be sent for your training, all young Aarakocra and Owlin journey to the Eris temple to be trained in martial arts and in ways of the Force, to be trained in martial arts and the knowledge that they need and spiritual matters as well. There's this whole thing about it's all like a very important rite of passage. Otto actually was very much pushing back against that and trying to convince your parents that maybe it was better off if you weren't to be sent. And he had started to win over your parents, and then the Talon stepped in and you were sent, the head of the family, and there was no more discussion about it. But that's just something that kind of stood out, because, I mean, you looked up to Otto, you liked Otto, you thought that this was something that was really important that you had to do, and it was a bit of a weird moment where this person who you look up to and respected didn't want you to do something you thought you wanted to do. And so maybe that's always kind of sat as a bit of an incongruity in your mind. And now suddenly as you put this together, you're like, Otto didn't want me to go to the temple.
It's like with the context of this revelation, it's like all of these like puzzle pieces that have not really made any sense in my life is sort of starting to like click together.
Yeah, that's just what happened with Bart went through that last session as well. These flashbacks of like, you mean my like torture training and science experiments weren't normal childhood?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we reach out to Otto. Actually, pause. Dungeon Master, DM, does Nostea have similar things to the Sword Coast in the sense of teleportation circles in major cities?
Yes, so most major cities do have access to teleportation circles. The Tempest Guild have access to their own private teleportation circle in the Night Hall in Oxenford, which connects to a couple of locations, including their airship, which last you checked, the plan was when you returned from the Underdark, you would be given access to that airship.
And does the Tempest Guild have their own teleportation circle?
Yeah. So they've got their own private one in the Night Hall, which is maintained. That's their main building in Oxenford.
Oh no, yeah. So I was checking. So if the Silverwinds have one, and if the Tempest Guild
the Tempest Guild definitely do. They've got their own private teleportation circle. They've got one that connects directly to the ship, and then they've got ones that go to a couple of other major points. Teleportation magic's tricky. It doesn't always work 100% on Nostea because of the nature of planar portals and things like that. All portals have a bit of a gimmick to them. They sometimes don't quite work as intended, but the teleportation circles the Tempest Guild use are pretty stable. The Silverwinds, Niles, you would know that the Silverwinds do have access to at least one teleportation circle to the main business hub, to the main what would be the word for it? What would they call it? Maybe the Bower, let's say, which is the main main area where most of the goods are maintained, where most of the workers are. I like that. Bower is a great name for that, actually. Yes, let's call it the Bower.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
Cool.
Niles, I think our first step, if you're happy to assist me and aid me in this, when we return to the surface world, this is going to take me to Satine one way or another, and there's no rush. Hopefully she's just safe and sound. I think we need to use the weight of the Tempest Guild to advise that a deal of some sort, or a trade, or something needing to be bought. We can work out the exact information later, but the Tempest Guild requires the use of Otto's skills. Requesting him particularly because of your relations. I feel like that's a good cover story. You would want to bring someone on board that you're on good barters with. If you're going to be negotiating a finance deal, you're not going to talk with someone who's angry at you. And then when Otto comes to us, that's when we inform him of what we feel comfortable informing him of, and at least try to get him to reach out to my sister. How does that sound to you, like a beginning?
That sounds good. I think we can make this work. We'll have to be careful, of course. If the wrong person or the wrong Owlin hears about this, I don't know what we'll do. But...
Yeah, that's why I agree with in person. If we can get him to the Tempest Guild, at least they can use the main traveling portals across Nostea to come to us directly. We don't have to wait for birds to bring the message back and forth, and that which obviously could even be spied upon. If he's with us face to face, like you said, there's no chance for foul play, or at least
it does have to be Otto. We do need to get him and him alone.
Yeah.
The Talon rarely makes appearances. He leaves it all to the underlings. But Otto, I think we have a chance. If we can get to him, we can get him.
And if you're close with him, I think we use that as the reason why you're coming, so it doesn't sound suspicious, or like why he needs to come. You mean, hey, uncle, long time no see. How's your eggs going?
Well, I'm sure his eggs are fine, but yes, no.
Otto is barren. You can't joke about that, Bart.
Yeah, he is quite barren. No. Yes, no. This all makes a bit. I mean, there's a lot to take in.
Yeah, fucking lot. Yeah, I've spent a good hour while I listened to Harry getting chopped up. That really made it a lot more gritting for me, to be honest.
Oh, I bet. Niles kind of looks at himself and goes, fighting is all I have known, and you're telling me.
Likewise.
I mean, I always envisioned that I would use this for good, but you're telling me that this is no.
I think
that can't be right.
It still can.
No. My master taught me the way of sympathy. Sympathy is not inherently an antagonistic way.
Actually, that's a good point. But you've seen Niles fight a couple of times now. His fighting style is not the same as yours. It's a good point, actually. I think you would recognize that it is quite different the way Niles fights.
I'm going to do a history check just because there's a lore here that I know is in our notes, but I'm not sure if
may or may
would...
not know.
No.
Yeah.
6.
No, that's fine. 6. Look, there is still hope for us, Niles. The reason I want to confront this and speak to my sister is, if that is the case, I need to have the mother of all conversations with my father.
Oh, yes.
And this might be a situation where this isn't some mere slap on the wrist or father-son talk, but maybe even letting other nations know, some of the nearby areas of Elves the Dragonborn, that the Owlin and Aarakocran people could pose a threat. We need to make sure that our people do the right thing. If there's a war coming up with giants and with Hadar invading the world, we can't have another problem. You and me are good in nature, in heart. We protect people. If we can get all of our folk to believe in that same mantra, if this is the truth, and I'll sort of tap my claw on the book. We need to make a change.
We need to win the hearts and minds of our people.
I mean, it's never been discussed that at any moment you guys might need to mobilize and wipe out the other nations. I mean, you do get the sense that the people who know this information's probably limited. It's definitely not common knowledge because this is a big secret. Like, the problem is, right, the more people who are in a secret, the more likely it is to get out and the quicker it is going to get out. To maintain a good conspiracy, you need minimal people, maximum security, and people so afraid to share it that they wouldn't even conceive of doing something. Also devoted that they believe wholeheartedly in the cause.
The sort of experimenting with me and my siblings, I know that was literally just my father and Kravis, at least what I saw. There was no other intermediates, no other like small acolytes. It was just the Archmage and the Zishi. With that note, tapping on the page and saying sort of we need to make a difference. I think the first step, to be honest, is we need people to be able to believe that the Tempest Guilds, our friends downstairs, and you and me can make a difference if a difference is needed, that we can be strong. No one's going to pull behind us if it's just words. We need actions.
Of course.
Behir, I think, might prove to be more useful to us in many more ways than I imagined if we can take it out. As Threign is often going about, the honor of taking that down will put a lot of weight behind us.
It would. It would certainly give legitimacy to your prowess in battle. And could be a bargaining chip or something that we could curry favor with. But I think we need to come up with a bit of a plan with everyone else. Now, Nibble and friends are still in a state of duress. It's been a little bit of time. We should probably go get them.
While you were upstairs, this is worth mentioning to everyone else. Albus, you've been amazing.
Oh, yes.
I did not want to interrupt what seemed a rather poignant conversation.
Thank you for that. You're much more kinder than many other people and races. You're being a mind flayer completely discluded. I'm glad that we could get on the correct page. Apologies for being small-minded.
No, not at all. I'm sure your brain is large and juicy.
I will take that as a compliment then.
Oh, yes.
I'm just gonna...
As the tentacles slowly move around.
I might see you another time. I'm not sure, Albus.
I
bye.
hope you come by again, and your troubles you describe, I hope they do not come to pass. It sounds rather sad for the surface.
Yeah, I hope not as well. I've been doing this for other people, and I sort of like the idea now. I can live without it, and you're a bunch of mages. I'm going to pluck out a feather and leave that to him so that he's got something to help scry me, just in case.
Oh, yeah, cool.
He ever wants to find me. I'm liking this sort of connection of building bonds with people and leaving them with bits, just like what I've tried to do with Harry, one of my new friends.
Ah, thank you. Unfortunately, my tentacles cannot be plucked so easily to provide you with the means of scrying. But I will keep this close should we need to find each other once again.
Thank you. I'm not proficient in scrying anyway.
Nor am I.
Nor am I.
Hoot, hoot, hoot.
As I sort of give a wave to Albus and start walking down the stairs, and we're heading towards everyone else, Niles, Albus was talking to me about the Behir, and I think I have a plan.
Ooh. Oh, God.
Ember and Harry. The two of you have had some time downstairs with Lyra and Tetarch and Sylvie. Ember, this is, I think you've had a bit of a chance now to see Harry's hand in a bit more detail close up. Harry, did you describe the situation with Figment with Ember there as well? Yeah, I think Ember and Lyra.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Ember and Lyra were there. So Lyra, obviously for Ali's benefit, you weren't there last time, Ali, but Lyra was. Harry revealed that there is an entity living inside his Heartstone, an entity called Figment, which talks to him and has been trading power in exchange for promises of certain actions that Harry will take. It's been happening since the town of Laspire, possibly connected to the crystal that Harry shot. It is, who knows, hard to say.
The truth finally set him free.
The truth set him free. As did the explosion of a compressed crystal. But the entity, from what Harry says, seems like it does want to talk to the rest of you. And Harry revealed that it wants Harry to place his hand against this power source in the very center of the Stone Giant camp. And if Harry did that, then the entity would be able to talk with all of you. Figment would be able to speak with you.
It's a win-win.
You're muted, sorry, Ali. No, it's still muted. What have we done wrong here? Oh no!
No.
That's all right. Let me check. I can check your settings, see what's happening. It looks like it's trying to use NVIDIA Broadcast. Do you want to use NVIDIA Broadcast? You do. You like NVIDIA Broadcast. I can see you nodding. I can refresh it. Here we go. There you go. You're back. That refreshing worked.
Yeah, she's back. Yep.
Oh,
That's right. I just refreshed your connection to NVIDIA Broadcast. That was easy.
But I was going to say, isn't that the, putting the power, the entity against the power source, isn't that the exact thing that, we were warned by the other entity not to do?
Archivist. You were warned by Archivist specifically up in the north. He wanted you to go there and investigate. I think it was an old frost giant facility that had been buried up in the north.
Yeah.
But it was in search of their power source, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in search of their power source.
It had something to do with power sources.
It was. He wanted you to. Yeah, it was.
It's like they were all after the power source.
They do seem to be all after the
coincidence.
power source. Yeah, so that's what Ali, that's what Lyra knows. Now Ali knows it too. With the three of you downstairs as Ember you come back in, Sylvie having just handed you some pretty impressive poisons. With Albus not around, she sort of looks and realizes Albus is there, leans in and goes, "Albus is upstairs with those two, right? You're not down here. Tetar, Lyra, you're not here?
Hmm?
Oh, we can probably tell them
Albus?
about the poison then. It's Albus who disapproves."
Yeah, no, so we've I've collected some little poisons, maybe. It's only a poison if you use it the wrong way, which is, consuming it, touching it, doing those kinds of things. But
Interacting with it.
I think it's like interacting with it in any way outside of the
Even
glass
looking
vial.
at it, you're not safe.
Yeah, don't look directly at it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that we might be able to use something like this against to help out the Spiniblet. But I think we probably should gather everyone else and see if they're ready to go. I'm kind of worried about them.
Well, we can't talk about the poison in front of Albus. He'll be very disappointed. Maybe just before those lot come down. The poison's pretty effective against creatures if you can get it inside the body, either through the blood, through ingestion, even something quite big. I'll put it that way.
So, tipping an arrow kind of thing in it is
That could work.
sufficient.
As long as you can get it into the bloodstream, it's going to be brutal. This poison, it's distilled from a black snapdragon, which Ember and I were talking about outside. I won't go into the details. That was more for Ember's interest. I don't know if you're interested in botany. Essentially, it's a plant that produces this toxin that basically starts to mummify a person. It's like a converts living tissue into this kind of leather-like substance. It's brutal. But you can't think about it too much. If Albus hears us thinking about it, he's going to come down and tell me off. I'm not supposed to have it. It's made by a
When you
lich.
say leather-like substance, it's
Yeah.
not like an actual leather or a
No,
mushroom
it's like a
cap
it's like a
or
preservative. It was created by this lich. He magically infused this plant with this ability to make this toxin to preserve his undead army. Right? It's like feed this to a living person. They basically get turned into some sort of mummified husk that can then be reanimated easily. It's much stronger, right? Because all the
Do you have
cells.
seeds for this plant at all?
I have seeds
Or
for this
a
plant.
propagation graft, perhaps?
It doesn't graft very well. I've only got the two inside the hidden terrarium out the back, and your friend Ember did already ask. Unfortunately, I can't give you a cutting. This is pretty rare, but I've given Ember some of the poison, and look, I mean, for those who know about it, if you know to look out for it now, the Black Snapdragon.
Oh, that is just now at the top of Lyra's, like, keep an eye out for this plant list. It's just like,
I mean,
this plant live.
there's enough poison in the vial, enough of the sap that you could use it on whatever creature you're trying to take down. You said it was like a Behir, a dragon thing? Tektok nods and goes,
Yes, rather large draconic beast.
Sylvie just shakes and goes, I don't care. I'm not interested in monsters. Blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
It's big, right?
No, more just to grow it myself. Like,
I mean, I can
the
look into it.
the unbeatable undead army does sound kind of cool.
You watch as Tetark and Sylvie both pause and look at you again, just sort of reassessing you. This quite young, innocent-looking elven lass, long red hair, bright green eyes, discussing the creation of an undead army. As they sort of pause, Tetark sort of nods and goes,
Theoretically, though, of course, right, Lash?
Yeah, theoretically. Like, you know, in the Myconid sense of theoretical undead.
Myconids aren't theoretical, though. They actually exist, and they actually create undead creatures. If anything, your attempts to reassure me have done rather the opposite.
Yeah, no, that's probably fair. Like, I mean...
This is not good, the way you're... I'm genuinely convinced that you want to create an undead army now.
For the purposes of good and protecting the
I'm
living
sure
people.
all the people who've made undead armies did the same thing in the name of good.
Okay, that's probably fair. You should probably keep me away from that flower, but you know I'm going to be keeping an eye out for it now.
Sylvie smiles mischievously and goes, I'd never give it to a Tetark, and then leans into Ember and Lyra and goes, I'm tempted to give it to you more now. I like a bad girl, me. She gives you a little eyebrow raise.
Oh, actually, before we go, can I ask Sylvie about if she's seen any of the mushrooms that the tattooist told us to keep an eye out for?
Yeah,
Like,
as you go through the list, I think I've got the list here, but as you go through the list, she nods, ticks off, and goes like, yeah, I've got a few samples of a couple of those. Black Wart, yes, absolutely. Blue Cup, yes, absolutely. I don't have any of Skull White. Sorry, but I
That's all good.
can track some down. But 5 of those out of the 7 pigments you're after, I can.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Can give you some samples of most of those. I've got a fair few.
Yeah, definitely. Is absolutely. If you're willing, I mean, if there's anything I can give you in return,
most of these aren't poisonous. Are you sure you want them? They're not. I mean, they're not very interesting.
Not very interesting. Far out. So. And she's going to sort of, just to save us time, she's going to go in
Share
and just
about the
very
magical tattoos.
enthusiastically talk about magic tattoos and how they glow. And look, they even use them as paint on the walls. I mean, it looked amazing. You are missing out.
She nods, gets this sort of glassy look in her eyes, and then you watch as another face forms on the back of her head and looks towards you, Ember, and mouths, "Help me."
Yeah, I'd just be sitting there going like, don't ask about the mushroom.
As she uses a changeling pass to like change the face and move it on the back, and they go,
That's horrifying to think about.
yeah. I don't think changelings can actually do that, but for the purposes of hilarity.
Voldemort style.
Yeah.
Bring me the boy!
Sorry. Sorry. As Bart and Niles come down, just as the face melts back into the head, and she nods, goes, "Yeah, that's really interesting." Sort of nodding along.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we interrupt something?
No.
Oh,
Just in time.
inside check.
Oh, I better go and get those things for you. I'll be right back. Just Sylvie backs off up the stairs.
Also, a map or anything that would tell me where to get the other 2 would be great.
I don't know where to get the other 2, but good luck looking. I hope it's a long search. She vanishes up the stairs. Perfect. 9. It seems okay. No tension. All good.
Seems fine. Okay.
Just in time. Did the 2 of you find anything on the Behir? Was Albus able to help?
We did actually, yes. I think once we get Threign, who's still outside, I think, and Zerum, who's sort of not across the foyer that we're in, who's, I'm guessing, sitting down at a chair from what we last said.
As soon as Albus headed
Anxiously.
back upstairs, Zerum was happy to move on to the first floor. Just didn't want to get too close to the Mind Flayer.
Once we get everyone regrouped, I think we'll go over it. But to be honest, Tetarch, we can probably get out of your hair at this point. Our conversation
I have a lot
is probably
of it.
something
As he like points down to his completely fur-covered body as a bugbear.
very, very good joke. No, I'm saying that I think that we can probably discuss on the road, and we should. Time is a thing of the matter. And from what I overheard with all of you shouting before, you don't want Albus to hear things. So
What?
if we're outside of the tower, he won't hear them.
Ah, you hear in your mind, hear what? No. Albus is very engrossed in his book right now as Tetarch nods and goes,
Sylvie gets up to mischief, and Tetarch is rather particular about how things should be done here, so they sometimes butt heads. But it's nothing to worry
speak in
about.
first person often to talk?
What do you mean? Oh, sorry, Albus and Sylvie. Did I say my name instead? I seem to be, as I said, it's probably best you're getting out of my hair. I was distracted as I looked down. I found a crumb from breakfast.
as he quickly munches it, pulls it out of his chest hair.
It's the same with the feathers. It gets hard.
Do we,
imagine.
just a side note, Ember, Lyra, before we do walk out, are we leaving the etchings and stones and everything from the Kuatoan Isle with Tetarch, or are we taking this with us?
I can promise to try and get them back to you if you leave them with me. I can do some studies and maybe learn some important things, report back to you at this Tempest Guild. And, I mean, it's probably... haven't checked in at the Unseen University in 12, 13 years. Probably should check in, make sure they haven't written me off as dead. Again.
Plus, you probably got a lot of paychecks or something banking up. Hopefully, maybe.
Well, I do need to check in on Celius Grell as well. So, yes, he's been accepting most of our payment on our behalf and sending down supplies.
Well, I'm okay for the rubbings that I took for him to keep and work on them. I was planning on giving them to someone that could study them, and we found someone. What about the both of you? I don't want to speak on your behalf.
I will probably keep the Red Star fragment with me, just in case we run into Shana sooner than you make it back to Oxenfurt, Tetarch.
That's fair enough. Did you want the one of your friends as well?
Yeah, I was going to ask that actually. Should we keep the one of Lucky and Samara? Seems like that could be a good piece to perhaps present to them in a friendly manner. To say, what the fuck are you doing on this new day?
I definitely think so. And then, at least from a research perspective, you already know the identity of the two people in the piece, so hopefully that won't be too detrimental.
I've got the rubbing of the whole thing. I don't need the fragments. To be honest,
Yeah,
most
that's
times
what
I don't
I
have
was gonna say.
fragments. I don't normally perform archaeology by taking sections of things away from a site. I try to go for a minimally invasive version, but I'm not judging. Just wanted to say that.
Well,
got the
I guess the
rubbing.
bonus is, you've got the rubbing, so you've got a picture of everything.
Exactly.
And then you've got, if we're happy to leave that, the couple of other final pieces, we had one of the stars, and I think that you had, at least you've got the actual material it was made out of. That might help you date it. I don't know how this works.
I have it. Maybe the dwarves, they're pretty good with stone. Not the Druid. Checking with a hill dwarf or a mountain dwarf.
Well, in any case, we'll leave a business card with you for the Tempest Guild. We'll leave, when we get back to the surface, we'll leave any of our artifacts and whatnot up there with the Guild, and I'm sure we can do some sort of arrangement if you need to access things. We can send them down, you can send them back up. We can get that all up and going. It sounds wonderful. How about that?
Sounds very fair. I mean, this is being rather an equitable exchange. You've kick-started my career into giant research, an area in which I was sorely lacking publications, and hopefully we've provided you with some knowledge that you need to help survive, or at least most of you survive, your encounter with a Behir.
We could probably do you one better and get you a bit of a first-hand account of the giant's life. Sinmari and Loki surface are up there at the moment. I'm
That
sure we can arrange
sounds wonderful. To be honest, if there's only one favor I could ask, those heartstones that are to experience the past. I want one.
Oh.
If you could find one for me, as a historian,
insight check.
to live through events from the past.
Yeah, just make an insight check.
I want to see the sort of emotion behind this. That's my insight check. Is this greed? Is this envy? Is this just determination?
Yeah.
It's an 8. It's not a good roll.
Lust.
I'm so bad tonight.
Lust, you're pretty sure. Yeah.
Lust.
Whoa.
He just
Everyone has-
seems to like it. If anything,
Yeah,
you think he feels like he's missing out.
Okay. Well, we'll get what we can done.
If you happen to come
thank
across
you.
one, I must understand, as a researcher, as a historian, chance to live through events of the past.
Now,
What if? Oh,
Sorry.
no. You go. That's fine.
I was about to start talking about our plan. There was one request that I had of Tetark before we left to discuss
Please.
it. If yours was shorter though, Niles, and then we can.
Oh no! I was just going to say I'd hate for another Heartstone to land on my other hand, and then I'd have 2, and then that would be terrible. I wouldn't.
I'll take the other one.
Well, bit hard to get out, but anyway.
Yeah.
He looks at Harry's hand and nods and goes,
Point taken.
Do you have any creatures that your magical defense systems or Albus has managed to kill? Anything dangerous that is a corpse nearby?
We try to drive off the rather dangerous wildlife here rather than outright kill it, sir. You must understand, the scent of death attracts more attention than it dissuades, shall we say. The Underdark is a place of high predator concentration. That's what Albus says anyway, so we try to generally drive them off. In terms of corpses of creatures, I'm not sure we're going to be much help. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay.
Why do you want a corpse? I feel like in the conversation we just had about an undead army, I do need to follow up with some secondary questions on that.
The Myconids gifted us with some spores to give us a bodyguard. I was looking for fuel for that.
Oh, that is indeed a blessing. The Myconids share their gifts rarely and with a select few.
We
I reckon we could use it on the here.
The spores on a Behir. Oh, it is rather large. I must confess my knowledge of Myconid magic is somewhat lacking. Maybe. I've seen him animate big things before.
The Myconids didn't mention that there's a certain point of what can be controlled, however.
Yeah.
It would be fucking amazing to have a Behir pet.
Yeah.
a slowly decomposing, fungus-infested Behir. Can you imagine? And like making like the clicker noise from The Last of Us.
I love Kong Chi, but I think I could be persuaded to get rid of my mount.
Could you imagine going back to the surface and be like, "Hey guys, look what we found in the Underdark."
It's like half hanging loose jaw,
like
He
literally.
likes us.
Oh my god, the Aquaman movie. I used that to ride back into the Ares Temple.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
We need to have a talk about the future of the Ares theocracy, because I am your god now.
Yeah.
Well, Tetak, thank you. Sylvie, it's amazing that you were able to help Harry. Thank you for that as well. And I'll give like a deep bow.
Likewise.
No, as I said, it's a very equitable exchange. You've provided me with some important artifacts. Albus with some company that does tend to get a bit bored down here, and Sylvie with some sick distraction, I assume.
As he looks at Harry's hand again and just shakes his head.
Well, good luck to all of you. I do hope that none of you are brutally murdered at the hands of the Behir, or the Duragar, or the Stone Giants, or the Drow.
We'll try.
Each other.
Or each other.
Tunnel-eating, cave caterpillar things.
Ah, the purple
Absolutely.
worms. Yes, those are terrifying. Yes, we've luckily not had one come close. Albus said that he wouldn't be able to do much against it, which, I haven't actually dealt with the fear that comes with that statement. I think I pushed it aside, but you've just brought it back, and now I feel it like bile rising in my throat.
Maybe that's a good time for us to go. Goodbye.
Farewell, good luck. Oh, your drow friend. The prisoner one we were talking about. Sorry.
He looks over at Zerum, and Zerum just like shakes his head sadly.
Zerum isn't a prisoner. He's accompanying us for the time being.
Oh, sorry.
He's free.
He's a forced friend.
Zerum is a free elf.
Zerum is a free elf.
I am just going to decide, Harry. You didn't mean that, right? You're not going. You're cool-headed, not going to attack any friends, right?
No, he was wishing us luck against, like, not being hurt by each other.
I know. Just you were saying how this thing's telling you for power and to do things, and I just don't want. It's not telling you to hurt us, right?
Nope, never.
Harry.
Never even thought of it.
Look, I'm just going to, because I know that if it were, even though metagaming, I know that that's the truth, I'm still going to do an insight check.
Yeah.
I think.
But actually, just in case, you like.
Yeah.
Never mind, 6 anyway. Fuck me.
You're not sure, but I mean, genuinely, Bart, Harry could go either way. He's a hard bunny to read, and like that cute face, hides a darker side. And as he looks at you with those like completely brown eyes, little nose twitching, twin daggers at his belt, he slowly lowers a paw down and rests it on one of the daggers. You're like,
well,
hard to say.
If it comes to that, I'll make sure that I take you out, and I'll nervously start walking towards Threign.
I think Bart just threatened me.
Harry, Bart's going through a little bit at the moment. So am I, actually. Let's just. Yeah, I think we're all going through a level of.
Yeah.
Except for Ember.
I'm half a robot now.
And maybe Lyra, actually. You haven't had any,
Lyra just mentioned about making an undead army. I think Lyra's going through some stuff. It's just very internal.
Yes. Well, yeah. What's all that about, Lyra? Undead army? That's a bit. What's going on there?
Okay, you saw how effective Tim was. Like when we were sort of fighting, he was a good little meat shield. He did actions. Now imagine if we had many Tims, then no one in our party would ever get hurt, and then they couldn't die, and then no one in the party will go and die on me, and that would be great.
She's legitimizing lichdom.
Yeah.
This is how it starts.
So here's the crazy thing, right? There is a society on Nostea, Mors Sacris, religion of the Honored Dead, which is one of the Tabaxi religions down in the south, who believe that the soul is reincarnated every time you die, and that previous body that you inhabited is still the property of your soul. So whenever someone dies, they mummify the body, prepare it, and then get it ready to be basically brought back as a zombie when that person comes of age. And there's a special ceremony to try and determine which bodies were previously yours in your past lives when you get to the age of 18. And so every Tabaxi who goes through this religion is taught raise dead. And they raise dead their previous body, and it walks around and serves them as an undead guardian.
It's fucking nuts.
One of my favorite religions that we've come up with for this for this Mors Sacris.
I love
that was Raph always gives me really good unique challenges when he comes up with characters and requirements. Like his latest character in Curse of Strahd is a special type of warforged that we've made out of the Sun Sword from Curse of Strahd, if you're familiar with the campaign. So we've created a new type of warforged called a Gloomforged, and to create it you have to destroy a sentient magical item. And the sentience of the Warforged comes from the weapon. Because in Curse of Strahd, the blade's been separated from the hilt. And so they've found the hilt, and then they've just realized that their Warforged companion is the blade, reforged as a...
What the fuck?
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun. It's gone very homebrew.
Sick.
It was really cool.
Wow.
So when he first held the hilt, it then like lit up all of him as the Sun Sword, and
That's crazy.
It's like Shaun of the Dead vibes, where they have them like strapped to shopping trolleys, like giving them tasks and mundane things to do.
It's pretty fun. Raph always gives me really good, unique character challenges that are always like I have to really stretch the creative muscles to solve, and I love.
Yeah.
Let's bring Raph back as a guest in this some point in the near future. He's great. Man. He's great in the main campaign as well.
Love you, Raph.
Raph's great.
I'd love to meet him. I'll place a hand on Threin's shoulder as I guess the rest of us all come over and approach.
Threign, at this point, you're walking back into the garden. As he looks around, you can see his axe is wet with this sort of strange Icarus, dark, bluish, purple blood. And as you guys come back, he goes, You done talking?
What's that? Did you cut like a tree down or a mushroom?
No, I wiped out Greek. They were a problem. They now gone.
Okay. Nearby?
The ones done with the drow control. We not kill them all last time. I go back and exterminate. It's not that honorable combat, but it's more honorable to get rid of pest.
Okay. Lovely. No, that is good. I feel like we might just need to let Tetark know. They were just talking about dead animals nearby being a problem, but I feel like dangerous gricks that might come and kill them.
I kick them down the hole. What more you need?
That does work.
It does make a good case.
There are lots of holes in this big place. This place is big one hole, but I also kick down a smaller hole inside big hole.
You know, Threign, you are quite wise when you want to be. That is rather profound of you. My goodness.
I'm not just
Let's
big
hope you
muscle.
get.
As he tenses his massive bicep and then lowers the axe onto his shoulder.
There is such thing as being strong in the body, but also strong in the mind.
Strong in spirit best. Strong of honor.
Ah, very good point.
Now we
That
go
is something I would agree with you on.
kill big dragon and get honor.
Yes. Soon.
Okay. You're not done talking then.
Correct. I'm happy that you're understanding that now. I have another plan. I know that you all have been very helpful in these situations, considering my recent joining, saving Harry, attacking the drow, the bridge. I feel like I know a way that we can take down this Behir if a conversation does not look like it's going to happen, or if we get what we want, the same way that Zerem's torturer got what she wanted and then got what she deserved after that.
I agree with that statement, Zerem. He's right there.
You watch as Zerem slowly shakes his head, sort of bringing up the back of the party, walking behind you guys, not really sure where else to go, as he kind of looks around.
I'm just trying to put a light tone on your situation at the moment, because to be honest, all things considered, I know that it hasn't been the best for you, but it didn't sound like it was that much better beforehand, and from what Harry was saying as well. Did he look happy before this, Harry?
It's hard to tell. He was getting yelled at a lot.
Oh.
In fact, when he was happy and laughing at my jokes, he got told off. So, yeah.
Look, I won't lie. My time with the Shadow Blades was some of the hardest years of my life, but it is such an honor. It was such an honor to be included as a man in Lothsworn Drow culture, to be raised so high, and now to have fallen so low. I cannot return.
No.
It just proves all the things that they say about the menfolk. I cannot return to the Enclave.
You have another chance.
Did you survive?
Yeah, that is something.
Look, I think there is a way for you to get retinue and be prideful in yourself without having to be bullied or to be a bully.
I am not sure what my path, where it heads now. I'm not like you. I don't care for these deep gnomes. I'm not going to face off against this Behir.
If you don't want to, that is fine. You're not being forced into that.
I choose life. I chose life as a coward before, and now I choose life as a coward again.
We're not
And
going to
here
force
you
you to.
stand. I mean, at the end of the day, you're alive.
That's
You know,
true.
coward. Whether you call it the coward's move or not, I mean, the survivor writes the history, and as far as I see, you're the only survivor.
I also don't see it as cowardice. I think you grew a heart in that fight.
You also have a choice, which is more than what can be said for many others in your society, in your life. A choice is a privilege, and something that you should hold dear. You have a chance to do whatever you want. There is unlimited experiences awaiting you. The surface, for one, very pretty. I would agree. I would go there. Maybe seek out your life there. Oh yes. Don't have to worry about purple worms for one.
You sort of watch as he slowly nods. I do not know if the surface is right for me. These caverns are all I've known my whole life. What do you know of this Society of Brilliance we have just left? They have a monstrosity living in their midst, and yet they seem fine. They seem happy. They seem to enjoy the work they do, the understanding of things. What is this?
He's not a monstrosity. Just like how many of the drow that you've been working with put you under thumb, but you were unique. You saw the happiness in Harry. That's Mind Flayer, Albus. Albus is his name. He's also a uniqueness in his kind. He saw the destruction of his people a long, long time ago, went through his own trials and tribulations. At some point, if you ever want to come back and speak to them, I'm sure that they would be happy with that. None of them had any aversion towards you, in particular. They might have had it towards drow that raid them, and there's a reason for that. You're welcome to go where you want, though. If you don't want to come to the Behir, that's fine. If you want to stay with us because it is safer in numbers, that is also fine. But with us, you are not being forced to do anything.
You are really going to just let me go?
We never told you had to come with us. We asked you if you wanted.
Assumed that I would be killed if I tried to leave.
No.
Not at all.
I will go to the tower. If you survive the Behir, send words, and I would be tempted to come to this Tempest Guild.
Sounds like a deal. Actually, that would actually be good if you're going back there, because I wanted to run through the game plan with everyone. Could you tell them about the dead Grick that Threign killed? I feel like that might be a pain point for them.
Yes, I will pass this on. Maybe I can help them with that. Show I am useful. And he watches, he summons a small little firebolt into his hand and then closes his hand around it. I could burn the bodies for them as an act of, I am useful. You may keep me.
Hey. Plus, you might... You might run into something that you want to research. I mean, you might run into a book one day and you decide that, hey, this thing is really interesting. I want to spend the rest of my, time down here learning more about it.
You don't know what you want to do. You can learn there what you want to do through all of their information they have.
It's probably the best place for you, really. They have information on everything. It's what they do.
I wouldn't burn the Gricks, though. Side note, they mentioned that the smell can attract animals. Burning corpses may just be like a cooking fire. Maybe just check with Tetark first.
I will check with the bugbear, Tetark. Well,
it was nice getting to know you.
You could see this Zerom. He's still confused. You know he doesn't trust you 100% yet. You know that he... I mean, when given what you know of him in his life, could he afford to trust strangers in this way, given his upbringing? But as he slowly turns and walks, occasionally sort of glancing over his shoulder back at you and seeing none of you make a move to attack, Threign even lowers his axe and places it down on the ground and then gives him a little wave. Do you wave too, Harry?
Yeah.
Oh.
Ember, should we? We're keeping the cloak? Yes? Okay. Yeah.
I'm wearing it. I'm not even to get it off.
Ember just flicks it over his shoulder a bit and sort of shrugs into his shoulders.
Ember's just dripped out of his mind. He's like, no, man, what the heck?
Don't touch my cloak.
Sorry. Cloak. Speaking of cloaks, speaking of items. Now, pausing for a second, I have done a lot of out-of-game research and actually formulated a battle plan. I was doing that today. But I also wanted to make sense of knowing people's spells, and I always do this in like when I play as a D&D character as well, because I like being very methodical with things, with us almost like a football team huddling together and talking about our strengths, our weaknesses, what we can do, items that we have, spells that we have, ways that we can work together. Because adventuring parties, I feel like, would do that naturally, wanting to combo stuff together.
Threign shrugs. Strength. You ask my strengths. Strength is my strength.
What I was also wanting to check above Threign's breaking the fourth wall was...
Too good a joke not to let pass.
If we could, I guess, just bypass like that, and just similar to what we were doing with Lyra before talking about mushrooms, like montage that rather than having to talk about everyone's spells, everyone's items. Because the plan that I have does bring
like a single summary, like a sentence summary in character of what your sort of main strengths are in a combat situation. Because that I mean that's really good for understanding the characters. It's good to sort of like word that in a way that your characters would understand. And I think wherever possible, if we can do it in roleplay, it is more interesting, more entertaining. So do you want to start with Harry and go round the circle of people as each person sort of gives like a one sentence overview of their special skills?
Yeah, sometimes I like to go in stabby, but sometimes I like to hide and shoot from the shadows, so a bit of both.
Stabby, zappy, zappy.
Yeah. Pew pew, essentially. Ember.
Oh, well,
Pew, pew.
anything involving fire and healing at the moment actually is quite good, and I mean, considering my thoughts with the Behir, I mean, we can get that at the end, but I was planning on using Flicker.
Yeah, instant teleportation using a fire spirit. Pretty handy. But
my strengths are usually focused towards close combatant, hand-to-hand fighting, and these new powers that I seem to have been granted, gifted, still learning them at the moment, seem to enhance that. They do give me minor strengths in healing and protecting as well. So I'm definitely going to need to be close to the Behir. That's going to be a must.
Niles.
Oh, well, my strengths are pretty straightforward. You've all seen me perform in combat. Quite fast on foot. And I hit things with my fists on the bar. But I can also do some other things. I can manipulate ki to my advantage, or to the advantage of my allies. I've been working on some techniques, hopefully, to be able to perfect it. I think I'm ready to maybe show off those skills in combat. But it's been a while. It's been a while coming, just to say the least. But yes, I draw upon the power of the ki to be able to perform these feats. Something that I have trained many years for.
And Lyra.
Well, I guess I'm a bit of an all-rounder. Mainly
my zombie army.
Well, you know, army is only one person, but you know, they distract them while I whack them with spell-infused shillelagh with my quarterstaff. Other than that, yeah, a little bit of healing, a little bit of distance, but yes, that mid-range, lots and lots of bonus action kind of territory.
Oh.
And Threign nods. He goes, I am with Bart, up close. I am large, and I hit things with big strong axe. It's simple.
As we begin to, I guess, get up, leave, and walk, I'll try to even insinuate.
You guys are kind
direction.
of walking back towards
Yeah,
the railway station at this point. Given you've mentioned a couple times that you kind of want to keep times of the essence here.
With Kongchi beside me again, because Kongchi, I think I left out the front.
Just waiting at the front, yeah.
Grab the reins, and I would like to spend about 5-10 minutes doing a deep dive one-on-one, like a manager, with each of the other members, learning about everything that they have, tool proficiencies, languages, spells, items, everything that they can do and that they've practiced. With that, I'm going to put forward the following information and then battle plan. Some of it's just generic stuff, and then the final bit I'll sort of put forward as like the role play. The first thing, I'll say it in Bart's voice to keep into the role play. one thing that I've noticed amongst all of us, first of all, other than Threign, and it's the one cog in the chain, but maybe we can teach you. It's not going to help with the Behir fight, but all of us speak Elven. We can use this as a secret communicative language for combatants that don't speak Elven. For the Drow, it wasn't that useful. For a Behir, however, it means that we can talk battle plans in the minute and in the moment without it realizing. Second, reading in the books, we learnt that whether it was exaggerated or not, it has some sort of a lightning breath type attack.
I can confirm that. It nearly got me.
Okay. I mentioned the wording very specifically in the book, a stream. Not a cone or a wave, but a stream, a solid line of it. I'm unsure, because the book also mentioned that it arced towards individuals, but in any of those situations, we're going to need to be moving out of the way, dodging. Some of us are skilled at that, some are not. And I've noticed that I've been a bit more clear of foot as of late. I feel like I'm able to exude this aura to the rest of you as well. Staying close to me in this fight is going to be important. So one other note is, if we can try to have all of us within 10 feet of myself, this is going to be a very much close quarters, bare knuckles type of fight. That may sound like a bad thing with our casters, but I don't think so. A final note.
Sorry, just with the whole everyone grouped up together thing, with the lightning bolts in the stream, the straight direction. Isn't that just kind of asking for everyone to get hit all at once, especially if it jumps from person to person?
Well, I don't think it jumps. I'll get to that. It's a gamble. The final thing is that we're going to want, if possible, the first person to be hit by this lightning breath and to taunt the Behir, after my investigations, to be Ember, not Threign.
Oh.
If Ember can be close to me and dodge out of the lightning successfully, his ability to then absorb some of that with his spells should effectively quarter the damage. A combo that we have in the fight itself, another thing that I worked out, if we can get a stunning punch off and for temporarily knock the beast unconscious, it should be almost impossible for it to move while it is dazed. Ember and Lyra, both of you have spells that usually a creature would need to dodge out of the way of. We can make sure that those hit no matter what, guaranteed. For each of us, I have pointed out some of our skills and strengths, and what I did notice was that many of us have high abilities to dodge attacks or armor that protects us. Even our backliners, for some reason, have very high abilities in this regard as well, which is good. It means that it'll be tough for the Behir to land a claw or a bite on us. It is a large thing. It's a dragon. Many of us have abilities well suited towards movement as well. I'm the one that's lacking in this. But if we all stay close, then that should also help in regards of dodging the lightning breath. I will be able to give all of you, theoretically, a +4 in this bonus.
A +4?
What do these numbers mean? You talk numbers. I just hear blah, blah, blah.
What does that mean?
Some of you also have unique abilities. Niles, being able to attune yourself to the creature. Threign, your sort of spider sense up the spine of you.
I haven't actually done that in combat yet. This will be the first time. So we'll see how that goes.
Master trained you, so hopefully you're not shit at it.
This is a technique even your master had yet to master. Your Shifu had not. This was something he was working on, which is why you've not used it before. He told you to go out and develop it yourself.
And Harry, you just literally told me that you're just lucky, and I guess I'll take that as something. So yeah, we will have abilities that will help in that regard with the lightning breath itself. There's a couple of other notes for when we do get into individual combat of what would be helpful. I can go over them when we actually arrive to the fight. As a couple of examples, the fact that yourself, Lyra, have proficiency with a poisonous kit. We can use your skills with that to hopefully coat all of our weapons with the poison that Ember will be able to stabilize with his herbalism kit. Furthermore, as a couple of other things, if we are trying to hold this thing and pin it in place, Harry, you mentioned that some of the magic that you have has the abilities to inhibit certain qualities of an individual. If you could choose its might and its strength, that will make it easier to hold it in place. The plan that I put forward, and that I think ultimately its lightning will crackle against the tectonic plates of our teamwork, is the following. We start it with, if hopeful, a command of myself for it to lie down. Once it is on the ground, laying down, it will be much easier for all of us to come across it and curb stomp the hell out of that bitch.
Ooh, yes.
I've noticed with all of us, nearly all of us are hand-to-hand combatants in some regard. Lyra, you really like cracking things with your staff. Ember, you're honestly similar to the same. You, however, are one of the few people in our party that does have predominantly ranged base attacks. Like you said, stabbing things with that rapier. For yourself, Harry, Threign, go figure, and Niles, other than the poison stars that you have, your fists are your main strength as well. If we can get this thing on the ground and just jump it, I've seen that happen in multiple trainings with my older brother. We really just want to jump this thing if we can. If we can command it to lie prone. We want it to stay lying down, though. Grappling, if this were to be some sort of fighting hand-to-hand combat.
Threign slowly cracks his knuckles.
Now, I do have backups to all these plans. The first one, if my command spell doesn't work, Threign, you come in next. We need you, actually, and Niles, both of you. We need both of you to slam into this thing as many times as you can, as hard as you can, to knock it prone.
I'm pretty good at that, actually. Okay.
If it succeeds against my spell. There's phase 2 next. Phase 2 is keeping it from standing back up. Threign, that frosted attack of yours nearly killed all of us in the carts. It stops things, correct?
If there is enough frost, it stops things, yes. The ice is resistant to movement, you understand. It is strong. The most strong of all elements.
I believe you. We use that to stop its movement. If that fails, then you try to grapple it and hold it, the same as you've done with so many entities that you've thrown over bridges or off areas. Put this thing in the chokehold of all chokeholds.
I understand it is just one big long neck with some legs, so there is plenty of neck for me to choke.
Correct. If that fails, you summoned the eagles previously, Lyra. Have you seen a crocodile in your time?
I'm assuming so. No, in the Noonian jungle.
Okay, hopefully you can summon some of those, and if Threign fails, if he fails to grab it, if he fails in both of his attempts, maybe summoning some crocodiles, you'll be able to grab this thing, and the crocodiles putting it into their own form of a man hold. We want to stop this thing from being able to get back up, restraining its legs. That is the main plan in the 2 backups. Phase 3 is Ember being prepared to save Threign. Most of the attention is most likely going to be on Threign. We don't want this thing taking him out completely.
As if it could.
Eating him. You said, Niles, that this thing was big enough that it could swallow you, correct?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
We want Flicker to be on standby, ready to take Threign to the other side of this beast, so that we can begin it all over again if it does threaten him. We need to keep us alive. I want us all not only beating this thing, but living. We already nearly lost Harry. I'm not nearly losing anyone else.
But I have a question.
Yes.
Have you done much battle planning before in practice?
Yeah, Father always did it on weekends. He took me over how to conquer towns and villages.
No. What?
One of the exercises, you were often shown a fortified position and told, how would you bypass these fortifications?
No, I meant in the real, like, I'm sure you ran through these drills, but no, I'm talking about outside of the theocracy. I'm talking about on the ground, in a real world setting. Have you...
I practiced and worked out my maneuvers when it came to the foxtrot or the tango.
So no.
Alphonse did, but I never got to that stage.
No, I'm just saying. I think the plan is good. I will follow it, but I just wanted to.
I've done good so far. I have had practice. The way we saved Harry from assassins that everyone seems to have been scared of. Right?
Well, assassins that nearly killed Harry, and like resulted in him having a robot hand. And
we didn't lose anyone, and we took out all of them. That's a flawless victory if I've ever heard of one.
And a prisoner. You got a prisoner out of that too.
Yeah. Zeroman made, right? Yeah.
You did let him go.
Okay.
That's true. Yeah.
Anyway,
we made a friend. Even better.
It's nearly at the end anyway.
Every prisoner's just a friend in the future. All you need is Stockholm syndrome.
Oh my.
Phase 3 with Flicker is important purely for the fact of we need a backup plan to make sure that Threign, taking the heat of this thing, can be safe. Phase 4, I had to mention it because it's of the utmost importance. Other stuff that I mentioned with everyone it can be done, but that needs to be done. That needs to be done with Flicker. Phase 4 is once this thing is held down, once we have Threign ready to be saved, and this should be happening in the matter of mere seconds, we hit this thing as hard as we can, all of us around it. If we're all fighting nearby, on the left and right sides of myself, that should not only put us to take advantage of it being lying down, but it'll be taking advantage of my benefit to boost all of our proficiencies at dodging. And furthermore, if we are side by side and not, Lyra, in a straight line, if this thing does simply go in a stream and not arc, this is the gamble, then it means it should only hit one of us. If it arcs, we are fucked.
Also, just
Operation
to
Human
play
Shield.
devil's advocate and give us another we're fucked condition, if somehow the Behir does get up out of the grapples and is able to move, even if we're not standing in a line immediately, near the Behir, if it moves and we are somehow in a position where it could theoretically be a straight line and it gets in, into the very beginning of that line, we're all double fucked.
I know. That's why I'm thinking that no matter what, we do need to get the crocodiles out, because if this thing can be held by multiple entities, it'll need to slowly rip each of them off one by one. We need to keep this thing on the ground. That is literally our win condition. The final part, after the final two phases, phase 4 and 5, phase 4, is just hitting it as hard as we can. Phase 5 and 6. Phase 5 is if it does stand back up. We need to make sure that we have the advantage in the fight, hitting it as often as we can, as hard as we can. So many of us have the ability to take advantage of that with my divine abilities, with Threin's large hits, with the many punches that Niles can throw, and with what seems to be the weak points that Harry seems to be able to find. We need to get advantage when we are hitting this thing. You both have the spell Fairy Fire that the Drow are proficient in, correct?
Yes, but it's I can only do one at a time, so it's either Fairy Fire or it's the Summon Beast Crocodile.
I understand. If this is the situation, if it does stand back up, we switch to Fairy Fire. We no longer worry about trying to knock it prone. If it's already got to its feet, it's going to be too much time wasted trying to knock it back down again.
Bart, another question, if I may. What if it eats us?
That's where Flicker comes in, hopefully. And yeah, our high ability to dodge attacks.
Ember, is Flicker able to get someone out of the bowels of a creature the size of a Behir, if need be? Is that something you could do?
Something I was actually going to suggest prior to these plans was...
Oh, you were going to suggest this, were you?
Well, what I was actually going to suggest to begin with, I mean, depending on how you would like to start the combat, I was actually going to suggest that we get the Behir to eat Flicker. I haven't talked to him about it yet, but I was actually going to suggest it.
Simon and I talked about this not that long ago. He was like,
"Yeah, I mean,
could Flicker be eaten and teleport out?"
Yeah, I mean, Flicker. I mean, he has a unique ability now where, I mean, him and I have bonded quite a bit, and
I know.
Yeah, he has to trust me, but I've now gotten to the point where I think I can actually use my magic through him, and what I was actually hoping to do.
Can you drop a fireball in his belly?
Well,
that's a spicy meatball. As he eats Flicker and then detonates a fireball.
Well,
Oh, that's
what
good.
I was actually planning on doing is letting him eat him, or actually getting him to teleport into him. Because it only has to be somewhere I can see. Once he opens his mouth, he can be in there. What I was planning on doing is taking that poison vial, using some of my thorn whip or something like that to pierce something, and then just douse him with that poison. Instead of having to wait for us to maybe penetrate his skin, I can do it from the inside. And once I've done that as well, I can get him to, just before he teleports back out, to drop something. I can heat metal from inside of him. Unless he tries to vomit that back up, he's stuck there.
Had a similar thought with both you and Lyra. If we could throw a buckler in and both of you focus it, something like that would be amazing. The poison, though, I did think about that, and I feel like either myself or Threign would be best suited trying to forcibly inject it.
Couldn't he inject it from the inside, though? Wouldn't that make more sense? He has to ingest it that way. It's inside of him.
It depends on the type of poison, whether it needs to be ingested, inhaled, or in the bloodstream.
So the Ember, you know the poison, the black snap dragon. Go for it.
Yeah. So my understanding is that it just has to be ingested, or again, if it goes directly to the bloodstream,
it just has to touch living tissue. It's a contact
Perfect.
poison, so it spreads through the interstitial fluid and slowly begins to kill the cells and causes the cell membrane to basically. This is getting very technical in microbiology, but this is for Simon's benefit because I know he and I love this shit, and I know Ali's a bit of a massive nerd about it too. Essentially, it kind of works almost like a contact formaldehyde. This poison, it bursts through, breaks the cell membranes down, and binds them together almost like with these like massive polysaccharide strands that hold it all together. Begin like rebinding the tissue to each other.
Exactly. So at least this way, I could even send Flicker in without us even having to be there at this stage. He can go in by himself.
The poison won't burn from Flicker holding it. He can control his heat.
It'll be in the glass vial. All he has to do is when he gets in there is pour it out, and then he back out again.
I like that plan. I still feel like we need to be close, but this at least enables us to get it inside without, like you're saying, without missing or wasting time, and without someone having to jump inside. The final part of the plan was simple. Once the Fairy is used, again, we just jump this bitch of a dragon and ignore getting it prone again. We just try to hurt it as much as we can. The minor ideas that I've had for each of us more so has to do with unique abilities or items that we have. I can explain those at a later point, but that's the crux of, I feel like, our best bet.
Well, were we also going to try and communicate? So I actually wasn't out of the game. I wasn't actually there for the session when we met the Behir, but are we going to try and communicate with this creature? Because my other thought as well is that if I poison him with Flicker, I did also take some fungus, which is a vasoconstrictor. I can try and barter with him to help him help heal him in exchange for him to leave the area.
Wait,
what choice will he have?
So you're going to poison him and then barter with him to get No, I don't know about that.
I read that in a book one time.
That's something I can.
Heal you and get the antidote.
Look, I do want to speak with him, but I feel like speaking with him, if anything, is a good pretense for us to get close anyway.
I don't really want to talk to him because he knows who I am. He nearly ate me, so I think me being there is probably not going to be the best.
He didn't seem very friendly. He did kind of want to eat all of us, when we were running down the holes, and then there was the hole in the floor, and
he really liked it when I flew away. I think it made it kind of fun for him.
Yes, fly, little bird.
Is what you heard, I believe.
Oh, there he is again. Oh my god.
Niles' trauma internalized at this point.
Just to quickly go over to speed run through them, the extra info I had for everyone, because I went through all of our damages, heals, stuff like that. The couple of bits of extra stuff just quickly without the roleplay. So for myself, it's just needing to crit hunt as much as I can for smites. For Harry, it's a similar situation, wanting to crit hunt with his hex powers as a hex blade. It's for him as well, there's a second point of if he does go snipey, he should be able to do that from far enough away, as he does have the ability to snipe that up to 300 feet. And the final thing for him is, like I mentioned, Hex. That was one of the examples I gave, that he can give disadvantage on athletics checks. Lyra, for yourself, the first one is your proficiency with poisoning tools, means that hopefully you might be able to even just use basic poison on all of our stuff. I don't know what we have in our gear, but that could add even just like a little bit of damage. We've got the Sovereign Spores, which we should try to use if we can to bring another ally to the fight. We've got...
you probably find some dead Sverfniblin in the city.
We've got the 3... we've got the... metagaming, but just to go over it, our characters talk, you explained your abilities. Something that you used a couple of times, your fungal infection, where you can revive small creatures, beasts or humanoids. We should try to find some spiders, bring them to the fight, and then you can kill them and revive them during the fight. Even if it's just a small little thing like that, it'll waste the dry...
Grix.
Or some... wait, no, are Grix a beast, though?
Grix are a monstrosity, I think, unfortunately. Let me double check.
Yeah.
But the idea being that even if it's just something small like that, it'll waste the Behir's time. Having to try to attack those things. You've got your blindness spell, which will be exponentially important for all of us not being hit by its bites if we're going to be so close to it.
Or lightning, too, if it doesn't know where to aim.
Yep. Your
swallow, a creature it can see.
Heat metal was already brought up by Simon, and then the final one, if the restrain plan does work, moonbeaming this thing would be a golden egg.
I think we got it.
For yourself, you can obviously, hopefully, perfect your synchronizing. Talking about the items that you would have mentioned on this chat, you've got a bag of beans, Owen? What?
Not
my choice. Random roll table.
Niles like fired all of this.
I've just got that listed as last resort.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you were able to summon a land shark with the bullet from the deeps. Yeah, unfortunately, random roll table fucked me over and they rolled for a bag of beans. Nothing you can do as a DM at that point.
I do have a bag of these bad boys. I wrap beans in a little...
Just heft your beanbag down on the table and go, yeah.
I don't want to use...
spell.
Yeah.
Give me a minute and a bit of water and I can get the party started.
I don't want to use too many of our inventory things, but you've also got a potion of diminution, which would be amazing for a giant creature like this.
Oh,
Lyra and Niles are both of our members who are lacking in strength. And
I wouldn't say that.
And if you were to be sort of bitten by this thing and threatened to be swallowed by it, obviously some of us can break free, like myself and Threign, but maybe both of you should hold the 2 vials that we have that you got from the hill giants.
I was just going to face step out.
That also works. I didn't think...
And Ember just points at Flicker and goes like, get out of jail free card.
And then also, I feel like Threign should be the one holding the single healing potion we have, as he has no healing whatsoever.
It's because I don't get hurt. I am too big and too powerful. There's no need to heal what is already perfect.
You know what? But I think we got this. I'm feeling pretty confident.
I'm going to take that as an inspiring leader feat as well, which I'm assuming was also part of the plan. You may all gain 10 temporary hit points for inspiring.
I think
leader.
most of us had it. I did it on our walk here, but yeah. Going over all of that, the Threign was the final one, and his was simple.
I'll wait for Jared because he's not here.
Yeah. Oh, it was just he can rage.
Just rage.
But yeah, we've got a bunch of items and spells that hopefully can be used. Just depends when in the fight. But I'll go over all of that as we're sort of walking and eventually arrive to the minecarts.
Brilliant. We'll leave off as you guys arrive at the minecarts. Gook and Noose still there waiting for you to get back to the minecarts. And as you approach, you can see that they're clearly a bit distressed about something as you approach. Noose sort of waving over a bit excitedly, trying to get your attention as you begin to make your way over. And that is where we'll wrap up for tonight. Hopefully Jared can rejoin us next week for the fight against the Behir. I know it will be much better if he's playing the character of Threign for that fight. I will do my best if we do have Jared absent next session, but want to make sure that we do get Jared there if we can. So, thank you so much everybody for joining us. It has been wonderful having you here once again for our Return of the Giants 5th edition campaign. We are going to be back tomorrow night for our Avatar Legends The Legacy of Kyoshi session, which is our obviously Avatar The Last Airbender D&D style campaign. But from all of us here tonight, thank you so much. Stay safe, stay well, and we will see you all again very, very soon. If you're watching this on Twitch, don't go anywhere. We're going to go raid one of our lovely friends. Looks like we've got a couple of our mates up and running tonight. Let's go and raid. Who looks like they could use some love? Let's go raid. Who else is playing D&D? Let's go raid the Plot Hook. Looks like they're having fun with a Waterdeep Dragon Heist session, which will be loads of fun to go jump in on. So let's go and raid them.
Can I also just say thank you to Old Stormy as well?
Yes, thank you, Old Stormy, for coming and raiding us. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys are having fun with your zombie carnage, which is being unleashed right now. The player's having to get through quite a large number of zombies from the sounds of it to bypass a rather difficult encounter. So hope you guys had fun with that. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe. Stay well, and we will see you all again next time. But until then, farewell, everybody. Goodbye. Goodbye.
See ya.
Goodbye. Goodbye.